In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
All right, there it is. That's it. Another explosion, another episode.
We decided that we've gone too big too many times, and now it's lost its luster. So
Yes.
the explosion's still exciting, but it's 56 times in, we're like, yep, there's another explosion.
I'm showing that I'm not interested, but I'm actually inside like, because I'm so excited about another episode of Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. I'm Loop.
And I'm Larry.
See, now look how excited you are there.
I know,
It's a little over the top. So it's October, and it's the spooky month, or whatever you want to call it, spooky times. I don't know what they call it anymore. Haunting season, almost done, and we wanted to get one more episode in before the end of this month. And so we've got a very good, we're going to be talking about the Munsters. Like, what a better show to talk about. Plus, there's another movie that came out, a remake of the Munsters. We'll talk about as well during Pop Capacitor. But let's get right into Top Pop, where we just talk about things that we're interested in right now. So let's go right now to Top Pop.
Hey kids, it's time for Loop and Larry's Totally Tubular Top Pop!
All right, welcome to Top Pop. And this is where we just kind of go through some things that we're interested in, or things that are happening right now in pop culture, but mostly things that we're just sort of keeping our eye on or are happening to us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list.
This is the Halloween version.
Yes, pretty much it is today. I'm going to go through the four things we're going to talk about, and then we'll get into it. Loop's 31 Days of Horror, Larry Spirit Halloween movie, and you're also going to be talking about Tales from the Dark Side, which is kind of cool. And then we're going to do a mini review of Halloween Ends. So let's start with the 31 Days of Horror. So the last 4 years, I have decided to start watching horror movies during October, and I always kind of had, but not really officially. So I started 4 years ago with I think it was 2018, with all the Halloween movies. So I watched all those, and the first Halloween movie of the new ones, the 2018 one, had just come out in that year. So then the next year I watched 31, and then 31, and this year I've watched 30 of my 31 so far, and I think we have about a week left.
So here's before you go any further, here's my question for you. It is currently, on the day that we're recording this, it is October 26th.
Yeah.
So my question is, how did you fit 31 movies into 26 days? Is this one movie a day for 31 days?
What I try to do is, on certain days, I try to watch a couple movies, so that if there's a day like yesterday, I couldn't watch a movie. I didn't have time. So I'm already like ahead a day. Like I don't have to worry about it so much. But at the beginning of this month, I had COVID. So so I ended up being home, and I ended up watching more movies because I had more time. So
okay.
But it's tough. It's tough to fit in 31 movies. Like I'm not watching them daily, but I'm pretty much I am. Like it just depends.
Well, this is the thing that always gets me. I never understand. I think it's the coolest thing that you're doing this. I just don't understand how you do it.
It's like pretty much every day I have to sit down and watch a movie when I get home from work or whatever. It's a lot of, it is work. Like, which has also put me behind on other TV shows and that I normally watch, because I'm so intensely into this. So I have a bit of a method to my madness. I sort of try to watch movies, include movies from a lot of different decades within this 31. I try not stick just to like a certain decade or a couple decades. I try to watch at least a couple series, like full series, and then I just try to mix it up basically as best I can. So and when I say horror, it doesn't have to be all scary. It could be something that has like at least based in like in a Halloween sort of monster theme or something. Like, so it could be scary movie, could be one, even though it's not like officially a horror. It's like in the horror genre, because it's like it's a comedy though. So so I watch stuff like Malignant, Hotel Hell, Dr. Phibes I watched this month. I watched both Creep shows.
Oh, nice.
Terrifier. I watched Carrie, the remake of Carrie, and the Rage Carrie 2. I watched all of those.
Not the original Carrie.
Yeah, I watched The Thing and the prequel to The Thing that came out like years later in the 2000s.
Oh, right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, which I will say is a great movie.
Really?
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's really, really strong.
What is it called?
It's just called The Thing.
Oh, okay. But it's the prequel.
It's a prequel. So they made it years later, but everything that happens in it leads right into The Thing. So I watched the remake first, and then I watched the original Thing. And there's things in The Thing I'm like, oh yeah, they set that up in the movie before, which was really cool. There's a lot of attention to detail, and there's a lot of actors you'll recognize from other movies, like Uncle Owen, the guy who plays Uncle Owen from the Star Wars, the new Star Wars movies, is in this. And the redheaded guy from Game of Thrones, like the barbarian or whatever that lives on the other side of the wall. He's got the big beard.
Tormund, the guy who plays.
He's in it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's got a lot of guys. You're like, oh yeah, I've seen this guy somewhere else.
And is the Thing in it?
Not the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I can get through the screen and get to you, just so you know. I got my beaten stick ready to go at any moment. So just
I feel pretty safe over here.
Yeah, just be ready. Just be ready. I might be at your door at any second. Okay. And I've watched all the Paranormal Activities, or another one that I watched. And here's the thing I found with horror movies is that there's a lot of them. Like, as far as like some of these series that you think, oh, there's only a couple movies in that series, like Paranormal Activity. I know I'd watched 4. There's actually 7 in that series, like 7 movies. And I forgot about the last one. There was one just came out like last year. I didn't even remember that it came out.
Have they stopped promoting that movie and they just sort of released them? Because I literally, after like the second or third, I didn't even know that they were still making them. And you told me 7. And I'm like, when did that happen in my life? I've never heard of these.
There's a lot of those series that it's like there's like a bunch of Phantasm movies. There's so many of these like sequels. Like Hellraiser has like a ton of sequels, plus a new one that came out this year. So it's it is so much. But it was the oldest one I watched was Nosferatu. I went back and watched like the 1928. Like Nosferatu. I'm really mixing it up. So it's been fun. It's been a good month.
That is an awesome tradition. I think it's great. I really wanted to follow in your footsteps this year, and try 31 days. But what I thought I would do was do the Conjuring movies, like the whole Conjuring universe, but not in the order that they were released, but in the chronological order of the story. So
that's great. Yeah.
That was my plan. So the first one was The Nun. And then it turned out that I had to actually rent it and pay money for it. And then I didn't. And that was the end of that. So maybe next year.
I'm glad you made like a minimal effort at least.
I tried very, very little amount to get that done. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It was a good idea. It was a really good idea.
It was a very, very good idea, but you failed miserably. Once again. Larry!
Sorry.
But you did manage to watch a movie called The Spirit Halloween movie based on the Stores. I'm assuming.
Yes. So I'm a huge fan of Spirit Halloween, the Stores. My son and I for years have looked forward to them opening. We actually follow them on social media, so we know when our local stores are opening. We like follow what kind of animatronics are going to sell. It's like one of our favorite things. That's
awesome.
I've been to the store several times already this year.
You're watching what businesses are closing up, so you can guess where they're going to show up.
That's exactly.
That's becoming a Spirit Halloween. There's no
doubt. I totally do that. And for the first time ever, one opened like in my neighborhood. Usually I have to drive like 20 minutes to get to one, but for the first time one opened in my neighborhood, this was the best thing ever. Anyway, so on top of the store opening this year, they also announced the release of a movie based on the stores called Spirit Halloween.
That's hilarious.
Oh, of course. I mean, how exciting is that? Like, this is going to be the greatest movie of all time. It's going to encapsulate all of the exciting things that we love about Spirit Halloween, the store.
It's just surveillance footage of you and your son shopping. That's the entire movie, basically.
which would have made a better movie, let me tell you.
Oh no.
I was so excited. So it went to a few theaters in the States to have a theatrical run. None of them in Canada.
It can be up for an Oscar. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. Didn't open in Canada in theaters at all, so I had to wait for it to come to streaming. Also had to wait for my son to come home from university for a weekend so we could watch it together, because this was like for months, like literally for months, we've been waiting for this thing. Anyway, so we sat down. You had to rent it because that was the only way to do it. So we rented that. I couldn't rent The Nun, but I could rent this. Anyway, yeah. So it turns out that it's like a kids movie. It's supposed
it was in the kids section of like the horror like section of like streaming. So
it was, so they made it into like it was supposed to be like a family friendly kind of scary movie for Halloween. But first of all, they couldn't figure out whether it was going to be kid friendly or adult friendly, because there are a few scenes in there that are actually terrifying. There's a scene, and you kind of have to know Spirit Halloween. They've got one of their animatronics is called, I think it's called the Creeper, and it's this like really odd creature that sort of, it looks kind of human. It's got long hair and it's got a long face, but it it crawls around on its hands and feet.
Okay.
But its feet are like, it looks kind of like a dog from the back, but it's skinny and weird looking. Anyway, so this thing appears in the movie, but when it appears, I don't know if you remember the a deleted scene from The Exorcist,
like the walk, the backwards
spider walk where Reagan walks down upside down on the stairs, and it's terrifying because it happens like instantly and she's bleeding out of her mouth, and it's like a really frightening scene. They do that with this thing.
Oh geez.
It literally is like a jump scare, and it's terrifying because this thing is super creepy, and it's like now walking in a weird way. I'm like, any kids who are watching this with their family would be traumatized by this scene and anything that this thing is in. But other than that, it's literally just like these kids get locked in a Spirit Halloween store. They want to spend Halloween night in the Spirit Halloween store. It's literally a commercial. So they spend the night in the Spirit Halloween store, and then they end up getting locked in. And to make a long story short, there's a spell that's cast because Christopher Lloyd is in this, and he dies years and years ago, and then the person who killed him places a curse on him, so his ghost comes back, and it happens to be buried. He happens to be buried under this Spirit Halloween store. So this curse is in. Anyway, they're locked in, and they cannot for 90 minutes figure out how to get out of this store, even though they clearly show the front of the store is just like plate glass windows that could easily be broken.
Yeah.
Destroy this store. Like they're smashing things. They're trying to like break doors, and they're trying to why they didn't just smash the front windows and walk out, I don't know. I guess that would have made it like a 10-minute long movie, but it's stuff like that is just so stupid, and so like you're just like yelling at the screen for these kids to just smarten up. Anyway,
I just say I don't know all like what they're like everywhere Spirit Halloween, but remember when Spirit Halloween had like all the cool, like they'd have like mini mazes, or like they'd have like these cool like, and like they don't do that anymore here. Like it's like it's just a store.
They don't. They still do it. Like they still have, every year they have a different theme, but for some reason they've stopped doing it here. There's a flagship store, I think it's in Alabama, maybe, I can't remember exactly, and so they have it there, like the big full display. So there's video. But yeah, for some reason the last few years, even though the stores have been in big empty, abandoned stores, there's space, they just haven't set these things up. I don't know why. But anyway, so yeah, this movie was, on top of it being like a full feature length commercial for Spirit Halloween, it was just terrible. It totally let us down. We were such big fans of Spirit Halloween, and then this movie just killed it. We still love Spirit Halloween in the stores, but we will not be watching the movie again.
I'm surprised it's bad considering what it looked like. So, based on a store, I think it'd be good.
Yeah,
wait till Target the movie comes out. It's gonna be really
exactly. I was waiting for Kmart the musical.
It's gonna start a whole thing now with like different stores, like Walmart the movie.
The fact that they cast Christopher Lloyd in this, I was like, okay, well, Christopher Lloyd, he's still got some clout. He was in it for like 10 minutes. He only spoke for about 5 of those minutes, and the rest of the time when he's on screen, he just laughs, like he just sort of giggles and doesn't.
Oh God! I bet I'm guessing he was probably there for like a day or two most.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, and they got all his shots done and then out of there.
Yeah.
Like,
And he got a paycheck and he's living
why
large.
not? I would. Good for him.
But anyway,
Maybe got some free merch.
Yes,
Spirit Halloween.
I certainly hope so.
That's hilarious. So on top of that great viewing, you had found like the entire box set of Tales from the Dark Side. And when you told me this, I forgot about that show 100%.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
I don't know why, I just did. But it's like, oh my God, Tales from the Dark Side. So tell me about that.
So I had totally forgotten about it too. And then I happened to be in a Walmart and just looking through the DVD aisles and
Thinking about what movie you could make there. Like
exactly
what the setting and the characters would be in a Walmart movie.
Yes, scouting it out for locations.
We need somebody in stretch pants for sure.
Yeah.
In this. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've got big plans for this movie.
Okay, perfect.
But until that happens, yeah, I was in the DVD out looking through, and there it was. It's literally the entire series for $20 for the entire series. So Tales from the Dark Side, if you don't remember, was a TV show that came out in 1983. The first episode was October 29th, 1983. And then it lasted until 1988. So it was on for
it was that long, eh?
Yeah, I think 4 seasons. Wow. That's what it was.
That's cool.
Something like that. 4 seasons. And it was just an anthology show. So it was all different directors. They were half-hour little horror thriller comedy type scenario. So it was that kind of thing. And that happened a lot in the 80s. There were a lot of shows kind of like that. There was Tales from the Crypt. There was this one. There was a show called Monsters. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah. Freddy's New Nightmares or Freddy's Nightmares. Remember that? It was like a Freddy Krueger like show. The Hitcher. Was the Hitchhiker?
Oh,
no, Hitchhiker.
Yeah, Hitchhiker. Yes.
Hitchhiker. I used to love that show.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that one. So
Red Shoe Diaries. There's a bunch.
Yes,
There's
what?
like
Red Dwarf. Is that a thing? No, I don't
know.
But so it was fell in line with that. And so I was like, this is for $20. How can you go wrong? So I ended up watching most of the first season. And they're really good. So I mean, obviously it's a kind of a mixed bag. Some of them don't hold up, and
yeah, of course.
Do, but the ones that hold up are still fun to watch. They're super dated. I mean, they're super, 80s feeling, and so the nostalgia is really fun. Just because.
Is there any like fun stars in it that have like sort of shown up? There's always like Michael Ironside's always and stuff like.
Yes. Who was it that I was just Christian Slater? Christian
that's
Slater,
cool.
As a little kid, like he was, in 1983, he was a little kid. Yep. So he stars in one of them, and I didn't realize that until I started watching. I'm like, that guy looks really familiar, and that's who it was. So yeah, it does have like a smattering of stars. Because it's one of those shows that celebrities of the day would have just made appearances.
Yep.
In it. So but yeah, Tales from the Dark Side, I'm sure you could probably watch clips on YouTube, but I thought that was a really fun. So I didn't do the 31 days, but I did some nostalgic
that's awesome. Yeah, that might be something that might be reviewable coming up too on the show. Like that's I 100% forgot about that. That might be our next Halloween spectacular.
Yeah, we'll put that one on the list because there's a lot to talk about in this.
When the show's done, you can tell me where you found it, because I just might happen to go by there.
You might The other, just as a side note, the other thing I picked up that same day was the entire box set of the Twilight Zone, the original.
Oh, like the original one. Yeah, that's cool.
That one for $40. So for $60, I got both shows.
On a side note, you can find, if you look at like places like Walmart and that, you can find like full seasons of or the full series of a lot of these like 80s shows. And I bought fairly recently Lost in Space, like the entire series. And It was just like a big box set. It wasn't even that expensive. And I was like, okay. Like it was like $40 or something stupid, or $45 or something.
Like, I don't think people are buying box sets of TV shows anymore. So the prices have really dropped. Like those shows back in the day when they were released, they were like $100 to buy an entire series. And now like $20 at Walmart and you've got the whole show. I mean,
that's great. I think that's cool. It's a great way, because like some of these shows aren't on anywhere. You can't stream them. And that's the thing about, like, I know we've talked about like physical media like a million times, but that's the great thing about owning it, because you have it, and then like you can't find these shows anywhere. Like even the Munsters I couldn't stream. Like it's not available to stream. I found it to buy per episode, but I couldn't like stream it. So there's a perfect example of something that you think would be streamable somewhere, but it's not. So it's pretty cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, that made my Halloween season.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And so finally, we're going to talk about Halloween Ends, because it came out this month, and it was the final movie in the Halloween trilogy of the newest trilogy that they just finished with Michael Myers, our good friend Michael Myers. You may know him.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go into hits and misses, but just your general thoughts on this movie, because it's mixed reviews for sure.
Hugely mixed reviews.
Yeah.
So I actually really liked it. I liked all three of them. And I literally went into them with like zero expectations, because after the Rob Zombie remakes, I was like, oh, what are they gonna do now? And so I went in with zero expectations. I liked that Laurie Strode was in it, that Jamie Lee Curtis was back, and that these whole things were supposed to kind of erase all of the Halloweens after the first one. So there's like the first one in when did the first one come out? 1970.
Not 78, I think.
78, yeah. So it's the first one and then these. So it so you don't have to have seen anything other than the first one. And I kind of like that. I thought that was cool to see like a real sequel. So I mean, they were the best horror movies ever? No. But I found them quite fun, and I was personally quite satisfied with the ending of this one. I like that they actually gave it an end. I mean, I'm sure Michael Myers is not dead. I'm sure that they're not going to kill this franchise. But I like it. It had some flaws, definitely, but I really did like the end of it. I liked that Laurie Strode was strong, and there was a final battle, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I've ordered it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I enjoyed this whole series generally, and I did enjoy, for the most part, I enjoyed the last one. I feel like I know Danny McBride was one of the writers of it, and I know I can tell that they care about like the history of the movie and everything else, and it was interesting to be able to go off of just the first one and ignore the rest of what we know. And now with like the introduction of multiverses, I can accept, you know what I mean? Like like, this is just another timeline off that just happened to, this is the way it went. Yeah. I had some issues with this movie, like a few, and stuff that I didn't quite notice as much in the first time I watched it, but the more I thought about it after, I was like, and the main one was that like there's a character in it, Corey, who's like the boyfriend of Laurie's daughter, and he ends up sort of, I don't know how to say it, but he's
Laurie's granddaughter, isn't she?
Granddaughter, yeah. And he ends up like sort of idolizing Michael Myers and sort of like wanting to get into his head, and so a lot of the movies based around him and not as much around Michael Myers. And Michael Myers is hardly in it. Like, really, when you think about it, he's only in the last like the end sequence for sure, and then like maybe about halfway through he sort of appears here and there because he's living in a sewer at this point. Yeah, but there's a couple things I didn't understand, because he was super powerful in the second one, but then in this one he's like an old man and he's not quite as powerful. Like he's like something's like I don't know why he is like that. Like it was
the only thing I can come up with is it's been 4 years. Hasn't it been 4 years?
It was 4 years, yeah.
In the last one and this one. So, and he's been somehow living in a sewer.
Yeah, and no one's found him there. Yeah.
No, I guess he hasn't been eating well. He's been breathing sewer air for 4 years. It just wears you down.
and why he didn't like appear in 4 years didn't really make a lot of sense. But
they didn't really explain that at all, did they?
No, he was just missing for 4 years. Yeah. There's a few things I thought they could have done a little differently. Like I thought the easiest plot would have been that he steals her daughter or her granddaughter, and then she has to come after him. Yeah, like, you know what I mean, to rescue her. That would have been the easiest plot line and tie everybody together. And it's like sort of his revenge on her, like, but like one last sort of shot, and then the two of them go head to head. And he's in the sewer, which would have made a perfect like maze of sewer for him to be in. You know what I mean? Like, and it's that I thought was a little bit like a loss, like that was lost on that. Like I thought that would have been a perfect like situation for her.
Totally. Well, and that was his whole thing all the way through, was that he was trying to take revenge on Laurie Strode and kill Laurie Strode. So you're right. Like, it didn't make any sense why he just, for 4 years, they were living in the same town. Like, he was still in Haddonfield. I'm not sure why he just decided for 4 years, I'll just, and he wouldn't have, if it had not been for this kid,
Corey. Yeah, good old Corey.
He wouldn't have come back at all.
And I think it's the actor that plays Corey. He actually did a pretty good job, but it seemed like he was in a different movie than he should have been.
Yeah,
like it just. I think you had mentioned it too. I thought, like, for this kid to be in this movie and have so much screen time, he should have been introduced in the last movie, so that at least the last movie, so that at least you already knew who he was, and it would make more sense.
Yes,
moving forward, like this whole storyline of him. And it was just kind of like shoehorned into, I don't know why they could have made a long enough movie with just what they had, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because he was literally the main player, and he was the whole reason that this movie happens the way it does. Yeah. But he was brand new. Like it was a little bit too, it was a little too little too late kind of thing. But overall, I mean, it was a, kind of almost like a B-level horror movie. And I don't think it took itself too seriously. So I think overall it was still entertaining. It was still fun to watch, and it still wrapped up.
Yeah. Taking Corey out of the equation. I thought the Laurie Strode part was really good. Like, she had a lot of character to her and a lot of background and a lot of, like, she's trying to move on in it. And there's a lot of things going on. I thought that were really cool. And I think that part of the story kept me in it for the whole thing. And the end, I thought the last bit of the end sequence was really cool. Like like even how the whole town sort of gets together at the end. I don't know how that happened, whether it was an email string or what, like whatever, or some texting going on, like how the whole town shows up at the end of it. But
at that point, the radio host is no longer hosting radio, so he couldn't have broadcast everybody.
No, I don't know how that, but I'll suspend my disbelief and because I know, like, the impact that Michael Myers had on this town, so that sort of makes sense. So
it does, and that's kind of what I liked, is that the whole town got to sort of celebrate the fact that Michael Myers was done, like he was gone. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was like it was kind of like the scene in Return of the Jedi where the Ewoks are celebrating. There should have been some yub nubs.
That would have been a movie. That would have been a movie. So.
Yeah, Michael Myers is dead. Yum nub.
And then there's like a circle wipe to like close it up at the end. Like, awesome. And then George Lucas's name. Perfect.
That's the only thing this movie was missing.
It was just that. That was it.
Literally, that was the only thing.
But anyways, if you haven't seen it, worth watching for sure. If you've seen the other two, I enjoyed it for the most part. Like, there's a few things I'm like, I just don't know why they went the way they did with the story when they had more there to work with than I think they actually thought they did.
Yes.
So, but it was.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to spoil. It's not been out too long, so I don't want to spoil too much. But it doesn't sound like, because one of the things I was thinking is maybe they will continue the Halloween story with some of these new characters, but they can't really do that. So
if they did this again, they would probably just like reboot it again, or just again jump off the first movie and go from there, or whichever. Yeah. So
maybe they'll jump off Halloween 3 next and just make Halloween an anthology series. No more Michael Myers. Just movies about Halloween.
and does the shape have to be Michael Myers? Could it be somebody else? And that's what was kind of started in this, which I thought maybe they could continue with, but then they kind of ended it there. So
exactly. I totally agree.
Like Jason's not really the original Jason. Like he was a bunch of different people throughout that series. Like, so including in space at one point. So but it was awesome. So anyways, all right, so that's the wrap up of that. Now let's move into our pop capacitor, where we're going to talk a little bit about one of our favorite shows of all time, the Munsters. That's coming up right now. It's the pop capacitor. Super excited. We're going to be talking about the Munsters. It is October, and we thought, let's take a classic TV show that not only is one that we watched as kids before our time, but we watched it in reruns. But Also, it's just recently had a movie this year directed by Rob Zombie. So let's talk first about the show itself, which is like it was definitely a classic sitcom.
Yeah.
And if you go back in our podcast, you should listen to we did the one on the TV shows, like the channel for the channels that we loved as kids, like the channel 43 for us was the one, and they were the one that was one of the channels that showed reruns of shows, and Munsters was definitely one of them, and they showed it like every day, like it was like 5 days a week or whatever. So I ended up watching, I think I've probably seen every episode at some point, but so let's talk a little bit about the Munsters. It came out, it was between 1964 and 1966, 2 seasons, 72 episomes. Remember when a season was like 35 episodes? It's
I don't quite understand how they did that, but yeah,
I don't know either. And then it's a mix of black and white, and then it turns to color later on. And the reason it was black and white the first season, it could have been color, but apparently they didn't want to spend the $10,000 an episode to make it color at the time.
To bring in color film?
Yeah.
Really?
So that's why it was black and white the whole, the first season, or I'm not sure where the episodes changed over, but I'm assuming the second season, maybe. I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, sorry, are you, can I step in here? I've got to, I love the fact that they are black and white. Like, I think that's part of what makes them as good as they are, because they're creepy to start with. Then you add, you make them black and white. The 1313 Mockingbird Lane, their house is just so much more creepy in black and white. I honestly don't know that it would have worked if they had shot it in color from the beginning.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think it would have had the nostalgia. I think it would have been more like a Batman, the 1960s Batman. It would have been like Technicolor and bright, and I don't know that it would have had the lasting impact if it wasn't black and white. So I think that's
definitely. And I learned that, I didn't realize this, that the Munsters name is fun and monsters put together. That's where
really.
So it's like Funsters, like the Munsters. Yeah, it's like that's what, and I had no idea that's how that name came about.
No, I did not know that either.
So it's like fun monsters, Munsters. There you go.
The Munsters.
It's a bit of a stretch.
It is a little bit of a stretch. And from now on, I'm literally going to be calling them the Funsters.
Yeah, that's really what it is. So because there's like 3 things you have to go through to get to the Munsters, it's like fun monsters, Funsters, then Munsters.
Munsters,
so
no. I will stop at Funsters from now on.
Yeah.
We got
so the
Herman
Funsters.
We got Lily Funster. This show's even better now.
You can change it into like Frilly Funster. And Furman Funster. I don't know. Dumb.
Stop it. Furman Funster.
That name's a bit of a stretch.
It is a real stretch. But look how much fun we're having with it.
It is. That's why they're fun.
There is
the
fun
Funsters.
in that name. Oh, that's great. Woo! Okay.
So we're not going to go through the episode, but we did, as a reference point, we both watched Munsters Masquerade,
which was the first episode.
Which was the first episode.
First episode of season 1. There is technically a pilot episode, a lost pilot episode, but we decided to start with episode 1, just to get back into it.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it had been a little while since I watched them. I watch them every couple of years. I'll pop the discs in, because of course I own the box set of that one too.
I thought I owned it, and then I realized I didn't, but I'm like proof positive that I had it. But I don't know.
It too.
But then you were over at my house 2 years ago, and then it went missing. But
was I?
No, I thought I had it, but I guess I probably looked at it a bunch of times and just never picked it up. So.
Yeah. Well, now you should.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to. Now,
yes. So so anyway, I do watch them like not too infrequently, and it just like that the instant the music starts playing that theme song.
Oh yeah, iconic.
It just takes me right back to my childhood. It's one of those shows that is so iconic and such a part of like growing up. That it's just instantly, you're a kid again every time you hear that theme song, that theme music. It's such a great thing. But the other thing that I was realizing when I watched it this time was that this was if you go back and rewatch our podcast, we had a whole podcast with Mitch Markowitz from Hilarious House of Frightenstein, and in that we were talking about how Hilarious House was one of the shows that we watched as a kid that sort of got us into scary things and horror. And then I realized we probably watched this at least as much.
Oh yeah, for sure we did. Yeah.
The Munsters. And I'm sure that this is probably, maybe even a bigger part of where horror came from, because it was like full on like haunted house. I mean, the Hilarious House was a haunted castle, so I guess combined they were the same sort of thing, but it really did shape sort of where we grew up and what we grew up liking. And it was like, wow, this is full on like scary, not scary, but like horror themed stuff for kids.
Did you watch Addams Family as well? I never got into Addams Family.
I did. Yeah, I watched some of it. I didn't get into it quite as much. But I used to watch that as well. I think it was harder to find. I don't know.
It didn't seem like it was on as much as Munsters was.
It wasn't. I have family in the States, and when I'd go to visit them in the States, it was on a lot. So that's where I'd end up watching it. When I went to the States, but back home, I don't know if it showed very often, but Munsters was on all the time.
I think too, Munsters over Addams Family, and like Addams Family was fine too. I just because it was based more on like the Universal monsters, like everyone was like, it took me forever to figure out that who's the son?
Eddie was
that? Yeah, Eddie. He was a werewolf. I forgot that. Really? Like it was like, but they're all based on Universal monsters, so that's why I think I got more into that one.
Yeah,
like it was more familiar to me, I think.
It's true, and they all were, because Herman is a Frankenstein, Lily is a Dracula kind of, or I mean, maybe she's a witch. She might be a witch. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure which,
or a vampire,
or she could be like a vampire too.
Yeah, I think.
Or a Bride of Frankenstein. There's a lot of different ways.
She does have that white strip of hair, so she could be I never thought about that she could be Bride of. I mean, she's not a Frankenstein monster, so but she is technically the Bride of Frankenstein, which is why she has the white hair. I was today old when I've realized that. Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then Grandpa, obviously the vampire.
Grandpa's the vampire, and then Eddie was the werewolf. They fully played on the Universal monster theme, which was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, and I thought there was just the dynamic was really good, and I love like that Marilyn was like human, but didn't realize didn't care that they were all like monsters, but then thought she was ugly.
Yes,
herself, even though she was beautiful. Like I thought that was a really cool sort of twist on that whole thing. Like she just lived with them because they were her aunt and uncle, right? Is that she wasn't like their
and she in the first episode she does talk about the fact that she started living with them as a baby. So I don't know exactly what happened to Marilyn's parents. I don't know if they ever actually go into that, but she was living with Herman and Lily from the time that she was a baby. So they took her in, which means I guess either Lily or Herman's brother or sister was not a monster.
Yeah.
If you think about the family lineage, they were not. So I'm not exactly sure how everybody came together.
Yeah, no, they didn't go deep into the family tree on that particular episode. So it was weird watching it, only because now everything sort of has it could be self-contained, but it still has a storyline that sort of goes through the entire series. But back then it was like literally like each episode was on its own. There was no continuation. There was no it was just self-contained episodes, and that's what you got. Because even the first episode didn't really introduce them. It kind of subtly did, but not like a full introduction or like origin story, or it just jumped right in. So.
Which I think is kind of fun. I mean, I think it's kind of nice that we never had a background. They were just people who lived in the neighborhood. They were just like neighbors. They were just normal people who happened to be dead or undead or whatever they were. And and I think it was smart for them not to give a full backstory and full history. They were just people,
Yeah.
And it made you. I mean, it was almost kind of like a lesson in diversity. You know what I mean?
It was.
They look different. They act different. But they were very kind. They liked people. They were nice people. They accepted everybody, even though Marilyn was ugly. They loved her, and they made a point of telling her that she was ugly lots of times. But it was the '60s. It was a different time.
I didn't realize, and I just found this out today. I was today years old when I found this out, that Marilyn was played by two different actresses.
What? what?
I'm telling you, like, so many things I've learned from the show. It was Beverly Owen in the first like something like 15 to 20 episodes. I'm not sure where she stopped, but then she decided she didn't want to do it anymore because she was getting married, and she didn't want, like, not that she didn't like doing the show, she wanted to get married and go and just live her life, but couldn't balance the two. And then they replaced her with another actress, Pat Priest. But the thing was, they look so much alike that no one really noticed that it was a different actress.
I don't think I ever knew that. Like, I mean, just watching all the series, because we don't in this day and age don't watch them start to finish. We'd watch whatever episode we're watching, and I don't think I ever noticed that.
I never knew that. Like, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like, so she did like the first 19 episodes or something. Like, it was somewhere in that zone. But yeah, she couldn't balance home and work, so she quit the show.
Which is funny, because that's a thing that they remember. Bewitched. They did the same thing. Darren in Bewitched changed midway through.
Yeah.
He didn't look, those two actors didn't look like that. They didn't look the same at all. So it was really obvious that they had changed characters. But in this one, I don't remember that happening. So good on them for casting.
I think too, because she was like, I mean, she's a main character, but she's kind of a side main character. Like, I mean, Herman's really that's the focus is on him and Grandpa and all them. Like, it's like, so you kind of forget, like, you probably just didn't notice it at the time, but
maybe. Yeah.
Interesting.
She was never, I mean, this first episode, she was sort of a bit more of a character, because it's about, her having a boyfriend and going to introducing the boyfriend to her parents and all of that. But other than that, she never really was a main player. So I guess it'd be easy to miss.
Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I thought the show, like, even joke wise, if you just look at the jokes, I mean, some of them are a little cheesy, but but I mean, it is like, probably at that time there might have been cutting edge jokes, back in the day, but I thought they were still pretty funny. Like, I thought there was a lot of funny stuff and a lot of funny situations they would put them in, and like, it's just a lot of puns and a lot of, like, this. It was good, and a lot of sort of horror based jokes.
Yes,
like they had the Raven that would come out, like, of the clock, voiced by Mel Blanc, by the way. I didn't know that either. So he who did every voice back then, but but there's like a lot of those type of like jokes going on as well, like, which I loved as well.
I think that's good. The other thing that's neat about the show is that it was so breakaway. Like, there was nothing else like this. All of a sudden you've got a weekly TV show that's based in horror and like really creepy settings and really creepy characters, and but it's still funny and it's life, but it was really, it stood alone as something brand new and breakaway. Like, just to have come up with this concept, I think is crazy. It's such a brilliant idea.
I don't know the timeline on it, but I'm wondering if, like, some of the inspiration for the show came from like the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and the show that you could maybe do something kind of funny with the Universal monsters, like, because that would be lighter, right? Like a lighter fare for them. Like, so I wonder if that maybe inspired them to, like, hey, we could probably make a comedy out of these, like, but I don't know when all those movies came out, like the Abbott and Costellos and all that. So
well, they came out before. I'm pretty sure they came out before this.
Like, that could have been it's like, okay, this could work, because those movies are funny. So I'm sure we could make this work if we did it. But I think it was so cool, like, so totally breakaway and totally like it's. I watched the episode and I laughed a few times in it. Like, it was actually funny. Like, I always had a smile on my face through the whole thing. Like, it was great. It totally holds up. Like, it
does hold up. And the other fun thing about it is that it's everybody so overact in it. Like, Lily Munster, Yvonne DiCarlo, is so, like, she always has these like fun hand things, and every time she talks with her hands, and it's very dramatic, and like, it's very over the top. So you could tell that they're having fun with it and that they're playing up these characters. Like, they're not just normal people. Like, they're very like flamboyant and over the top and fun.
Grandpa, I don't know much about like Al Lewis, who played Grandpa in it, but he just reminds me of like a stand-up comic. Like, his delivery was like a stand-up. Like, he didn't try to be a vampire. He didn't try to be like with an accent or anything. He was just talked, and it was like he just reminded me of like an older like
a
comedian.
Vaudevillian,
kind of comedian, like from that time period, like just nailing those jokes like one after another. Like, he was like,
Yeah, there were a lot
and
of
with those like expressions they would do back then, like they do it, they'd be like, you know what I mean? They'd always like they almost like they're telling you this is the joke, like,
yes.
but yeah, he was great. Like I thought he was really funny in it, and then of course Fred Gwynn is like amazing as like his timing, his expressions, like everything about him is like lovable, like no matter what he's doing.
I think that it was because of his casting, that it really made the show. Like just his face is so expressive. Like when he has the makeup on, he's got sort of black lipstick, but his mouth is so like, he's almost like a Muppet.
Yeah.
He can like smile, this big huge smile with this like thin makeup on to make it almost accentuate his smile and his face. And he just is kind of, and he has like, he does a lot of
he does a lot of head bobbing,
like head bobbing and like flopping around, and like he's just like a big Muppet.
Yeah,
you know,
it's almost like he's been put together as Frankenstein, but he can't quite control all his body.
Yes.
Like, so he's sort of always like walking around. Like, it's I love that. It's like, or his head's too heavy for his body or something. Like,
he's like on the verge of falling apart.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's good. And Butch Patrick was fine too, and he was good in it. And
yeah,
I met him like 6 years ago, I think.
At Niagara Falls Comic-Con.
No, I met him at he was a zombie walk in my hometown. Like,
really?
And they had one guest and it was him. And I thought I'll go and check and see. And then he was there and I talked to him, and like it was really cool.
He still does those sort of appearances, which is kind of neat, because I think he's the last one. Like,
is he the last person alive from that show?
I'm pretty sure he's the last surviving Munster.
But he was super cool, and he was talking about the show, and it was really cool. Like
that is cool. It's still really fun to watch. Like it is just, and just the attention to detail, like the set design, like there really is so much to look at when it's on top of it being goofy and fun and enjoyable as story wise. Visually, it's just unbelievable. Like the amount of detail that they put into that house and every room of the house, like it literally is. I would love to have seen it in person, because I feel like, well, first of all, I feel like it wouldn't have been quite as scary in color. In person, but just it looks so creepy. Like it would like be terrifying to spend a night in that house. which was good, because there was this awesome balance of like that scary creepiness and then this fun goofiness. Like it really did balance beautifully, and so you ended up with this really exciting, fun show to watch.
There's one part at the beginning, like, because I know you're a big fan of the music, which is awesome, like the music in it. But one thing that triggered a memory for me, and I always thought it was the coolest thing, is in the opener when she's handing out all the lunches.
Yes.
Like, Herman comes out of the stairs, so there's like a door in the stairs that opens up, and he comes walking out. And I always thought that, as a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing, because they always have like secret doors, like as like, you know, a bookshelf or whatever, but that's like a secret door in a staircase.
In the staircase, like the whole staircase opens up.
Yeah, and it was so cool. I just remember as a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing, and I forgot about it till I watched the opener again. I'm like, that is so cool. I forgot all about that.
Do you remember what they used that for after that first episode?
No, I don't remember that. Did they keep the pet down there or something?
Yes, their pet dragon, whose name is Spot, lived under the stairs. So
that's right.
Usually they would have to feed Spot, so the stairs would open up and you would just see like glowing eyes, and it would like roar as like his head would just kind of come out a little bit out of the stairs so they could feed him.
Because he was in this episode, but just the shadow of him.
Just a shadow. Yeah, I think that was the only time you actually see him outside of the stairs, like walking up, and it was literally just his shadow. It wasn't, it wasn't anything, different.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they used those stairs for. Was his home. That was his home the whole time. Which I think
this show definitely holds up. Like, I think it's great, and I would actually like to go back and watch more episodes, because I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. It was just one of those shows that just stands the test of time. Like,
I realized I forgot to do that. There now I feel.
Oh, look at you go! I got to do something like that too.
I just changed my back. If you're not watching this on YouTube, I totally forgot to change my background.
Yeah, we always change our background. So
I realized, hey, wait a minute. So now I've got 1313 Mockingbird, and there we go. There now
I got like the cast behind me now, just doing their thing.
Got the cast.
I totally forgot those changes that we never change. We always remember about. It's one of those. We were so excited about the show, we forgot to change them. So.
But now we've done it, so we're okay.
Well, let's move on from that. So this year, Rob Zombie, who's a big Munsters fan, released the Munsters movie. Didn't come out to great fanfare.
Nope. It had more negative press before it came out than any movie I think I've heard of in the like recent years. There was so much hate for this movie before it even hit the theaters or streaming service that I've never felt bad for poor Rob.
I know, and so we won't go into hits and misses, but we'll kind of talk about things we liked and didn't like just quickly about it. I thought as a whole, the movie was terrible as a whole, but I appreciated Rob Zombie's attention to detail in it. The set work, and I don't know how much, like obviously he had a lot of impact on the sets and the costumes and things like that. And I thought that was phenomenal. I thought he did a great job with that. I'm not going to completely poo-poo this movie, but I thought his attention to detail on the house and the other sets, like the labs and we're totally out from that time period. And he did such a great job with it. Like I thought that I was mesmerized by the sets more than anything in this movie. Like I thought they were great.
Yeah, visually this movie was actually quite amazing. Like just to watch, like the way he lit things with like purples and greens, and like it looked like a 1960s haunted house kind of thing. Yeah. Like it looked like the way the Munsters would have looked if it had been shot in color. Yeah, really. I mean, it was super colorful, like super saturated, like oversaturated, and really vibrant. But it was just like if you're watching us on YouTube, the picture that I have behind me is actually the house that Rob Zombie created. That's not the original 1313 from the 60s. This is the house that he built for this movie, and it's like spot on the original, including the inside. It's like the amount of detail that he recreated is just, it's crazy. Like he really is a super fan of the show, and and had some resources to make this thing. So visually, it was quite remarkable, I thought.
And I also I thought it was interesting that he's, instead of having the full family there, he started with like how Herman and Marilyn met. Like I thought, or Lily, sorry, Lily, yes, like Lily. He started with that as the basis of the story, which I thought was like, that was a neat sort of twist on it, because otherwise I'm not sure where he would have went with it, but that was a kind of a neat way to sort of the love story between the two of them. I thought was kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah, I thought so too. It did, like we were just talking about how the original story didn't give them any background. Like there was no backstory in the original show about who these people were or anything. But this one has that. Like this is the backstory. This is all the backstory for, where Lily and Herman were, and like little details like how Herman got his job at the undertaker, like as an undertaker in the mortuary. Yeah. Like that sort of thing is addressed. So there is a lot of sort of nostalgic looks at things that were in the TV show, and gives you a little bit of history on why those things exist. So I mean, I think yeah, if he was going to make a movie, it was better for him to go that way, because there have been other movies like Monsters Go Home. There's a Monster Christmas movie, and sorry, Munsters, not the Monsters.
The Funsters.
The Funsters. And those movies were terrible. Like they were sort of continuations of what the Munsters that we knew and the stories that we knew, and they were just awful. Like they were not good. They had totally different cast. So at least he was trying to take it in a different direction, something we've never seen before from the Munsters, which I thought was a clever idea.
And so, like, as far as the cast goes, I thought Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman was pretty good. I thought he did a decent job. You're not going to be the original, right? It's going to be hard to be the original.
There's no way you could replicate Fred Gwynne. Like no,
you can't. So, but I thought he did a great job for what he did. Sherry Moon Zombie was Lily, who I thought, for what I know, she's in a lot of his movies, and I thought I could tell she put her all into that movie, into
Yes.
that role.
Having gone back and rewatched the original, she actually did a really good job, because the problem with Sherry Moon Zombie is that she overacts all the time. Like that's what she does in all of his movies. But because Lily Munster, because Yvonne DiCarlo overacted in the original series, Sherry Moon Zombie's overacting in this movie worked, because she was doing the same thing. Like she had the whole hand.
Yeah, I could tell she studied it, and she was like put her all into it. And I could really see that she had studied it and did the best she could do. And I thought she was great. She was fine.
I thought she was good too. And I also really liked Grandpa. Like I don't remember what the actor's name who played.
It was Daniel Roebuck.
Right. Yes. I thought he was really good. The one thing that threw me off was that the grandpa in the zombie movie has this massive mustache.
Yeah, no,
which was weird. But then I realized this is probably like 20 or 25 years before the Munsters, because Marilyn hadn't been born yet. There was no Eddie, and you look at their ages. So this was at least 20 or 25 years before that. So all of these characters are supposed to be younger. So it's possible that Grandpa had this massive mustache and was trying to be like hip and cool and as a vampire, and then shaved it off when he got older. So it's I went with that. Like I thought, okay, well, it's just a younger version.
He was the only character in it I did not like. I thought he was too, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like kind of whiny, kind of like almost mean spirited. Like he just wasn't like fun like Grandpa is in the other series. And he kind of did near the end a little bit. Maybe they're giving him an arc. I'm not sure what they were doing, but I just didn't find him as lovable as he is in the other series and is cool.
I feel like it's because in the original series, Grandpa is older and a little bit senile, and he gets funnier because he's a little bit goofy. Because
I don't know, but I mean, obviously he doesn't like Herman at the beginning, and then by the end he ends up liking him, or at least they can work together. But there was something about him. He was just seemed dirtier or something. Then, like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's the right word, but there's just something about him I didn't like about him. Like I just couldn't connect to him like I can Grandpa from the other series. But Herman I loved, and I thought Lily was great.
Yeah, I thought they were good too, and I did, like, I appreciate it more now having rewatched the original, just because, like, one of our complaints when we first watched this movie is that it's not funny. Like it's not like the jokes don't fall. But then when you watch the original, the jokes in that are pretty dated. Like they're not like laugh out loud jokes. You know what I mean? When you watch them.
I just thought they're still good jokes though. I thought, like, regardless whether we've seen them a million times by this point in our lives or whatever, but I thought they were still like it was the way they delivered them were funny, and the people doing them were funny. This one, I just, like, nothing was funny. Like I think there was one point where I thought, okay, that's kind of clever. The rest of it was like I just sat like literally stone faced. It was like 90 laugh-free minutes. Like that's what it ended up being for me. Like,
fortunately there's lots to look at, so it'll keep you there. The one big issue that I had with this movie is that it has no ending. Like,
there's zero ending to this.
It just like all of a sudden Herman Munster is paid for because the part of the movie is that he grew up in this or he's living in this castle in Transylvania, and these bad guys want to like take this castle from him because they know it's valuable, and he doesn't want to give it up because he and Grandpa have lived there forever. The family has lived there, blah blah blah, whatever it is. And by the end of the movie, lots of stuff happens, but by the end of the movie, Herman is paid what the castle is worth, and he is handed this briefcase full of money, and he just kind of says, and now we're rich, and that's the end of literally the end.
I was like, that's the end. Like it just didn't, like, there wasn't really a lot of stakes in this movie.
No,
I guess it was more supposed to be like a love story, but there was like really no stakes in it, so it was like I'm not really sure what was going on. There was a couple evil guys in it, like Hurley from Lost got some work in that. Like, was it Jorge Garcia's his name?
Yeah, Jorge.
Yeah, so it was good. I like seeing. I always liked him, so it was kind of cool to see him in the movie. But it was like it.
Yeah, it just sort of stopped. Like it just, if they had been able to somehow, like, I don't know why he didn't do even like a fast forward to, you know, when Marilyn came to live with them, or like introduced Eddie, or you know what I mean, even like a 10-minute scene of the way the Munsters looked in the TV show, just to bring the movie into the TV show. That would have made sense, but it just sort of stopped. So I don't know if he was planning to do a sequel. Like maybe he's planning to do a sequel. I don't think he's going to now, because of the outrage that he's gotten because of this movie. But I just wonder if maybe that was the plan, was that there was supposed to be a sequel, and so it was almost like a cliffhanger, but it really wasn't a cliffhanger. Like there was no, I don't know. If you're expecting a big, fun Munsters kind of ending,
like
or
a big
even
musical
like a
number or something.
Joke.
Yeah.
No,
the script had more to be just like, it was just weak. Like the ending was just weak. Like it was just, I don't know what they were doing. Like there's a lot of parts in this too I thought were just sort of like, this didn't make any sense. Like it was kind of bizarre. But the one thing I struggled with a bit was the amount of camera movement in this movie. The camera was always moving. Like no matter what shot they were on, it was always tracking, or it was always pushing in, or there was always some sort of camera movement when it was completely unnecessary to do so. Like I was like, I don't know why there was so much. That was just a directing decision, I guess. Like, but it was, I don't know.
He likes his movement, I think. And if you look at his other movies, they kind of feel like that too. Like they do, like the House of a Thousand Corpses and stuff. There's a lot of like weird sort of camera angles and pushes and pulls and stuff like. I think he just likes movement.
I don't know. It just distracted me. Like some of it's fine. Some of it I just found too distracting. Like it didn't need to be happening all the time in every scene. Like it just static shots are fine. You can work with those.
Exactly. Well, especially since he was making a movie based on an existing piece of, you know, art. It was all like the original Munsters was all sort of tripod and static shots and you know, just moving from scene to scene. So he could have just made it look like that. Like you know, he didn't need to change that aesthetic.
It was very bizarre. I appreciate Rob Zombie. Like I appreciate what he does, and it's not always a hit. Things he does, like House of a Thousand Corpses, still like one. I love that movie. Like I think he did a great job on it. But and I love that he took this on. I thought it could have been stronger. I just thought it just wasn't quite strong enough.
No, so. And he did put a lot of cameos in, like a lot of really not cameos but Easter eggs of things that but they didn't necessarily fit really well. So you know, like costume, like at one point Herman is wearing like a biker's costume, like a leather jacket, studded leather jacket, leather hat, and that sort of thing. But the situation he was wearing it in didn't fit really. Didn't make as much sense as it did in the original TV show. So it was, you know, there was. I think if he had been given a proper budget, because one of the things that he was criticized for, people were talking about, he was given $40 million to make this movie, and this is what he's come up with. And he retweeted like, where did anybody think I got $40 million? That's not even, like, I got a fraction of that. His budget for this was actually really quite small.
And you could tell it looks like a B movie. Like it really does look like it looks almost like a television B movie. Like it's very like, it's like very saturated, if that's the right word. Like it's just something about it. It just doesn't quite like it just looks cheap. Like
if they had made it into like a Halloween, like an ABC Halloween special, it may have worked a bit better rather than a movie. If they had made it like a, you know what I mean, like just a Halloween special, a family, because that's the other thing too, is that it's family friendly. Like I don't think there's anything in there that kids couldn't watch.
There's nothing really bad in it or anything.
It's too bad he didn't make a deal with like ABC or something, you know what I mean, and made it into a Halloween special, because I think that would have made it a little bit more fun, because families could have gathered around and watched it. But and it is what it is. And I'm still not 100% sure. Like I had to rent it. I think, did you have to rent it?
Yes.
I like originally he said that it was going straight to Netflix, but at least in Canada, it's not on Netflix. So I'm not 100%.
I think I rented it, or was it on one of my streaming services? I can't remember.
I couldn't find it anywhere. I ended up having to rent it.
I'm pretty sure I rented it, but I don't know.
I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see if he does
that whole 2-hour block of my life is now gone. Like I don't know what like I like erased
your
it
memory?
all. Yeah. If I hadn't written notes down, I would have forgotten everything that happened in that movie. I still don't even know what really happened in it. Like I just
No.
it happened. It was there.
It did happen. Yes, it did. But
So
it was good to have gone back and watched the original.
yes, and
Remind
also
ourselves.
see this,
Remind ourselves of how good that show is because it's so good.
So
Still-
original, watch, remake, don't watch is I think where we're going. Yeah, okay.
That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up on that note.
Yes.
Thanks very much for joining us. Remember to check out our socials. It seems like we're doing some more. We talk about this every show. We're tweeting some more. We're doing some more.
Yep.
Yeah, I see you actually went on Twitter for once in your life the other day.
I know.
Like,
I had to find it and actually sign into it to check
you
it
probably
out.
had like 500 notifications
I know.
because I put you in every like tweet that I do because I'm more on Twitter than you are. And and then I noticed you've never once like retweeted anything or no. Okay, thanks for coming out.
I'm not so good with the Twitters.
Boo.
I'm really good with the Facebooks.
So thank you so much for listening and watching the show, and we'll see you next time on Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller,
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller,
Bad news. The fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.